What if I asked you who the greatest UFC champion of all time is? Let me guess, you're going to say Anderson Silva, the middleweight champion who harnessed the matrix and clowned his opponents as if they didn't even belong in the cage with him. 10 title defenses, after all, that sort of record speaks for itself. That's my argument for Anderson being the GOAT. Or maybe you would tell me Jon Jones, the Grim Reaper who haunted the light heavyweight division for more than a decade straight. Even when he wasn't fighting, he didn't just beat his challengers, he made examples out of each one. I just feel it in my whole being that I'm the best fighter on the planet, he once said, and it's hard to argue against that confidence when you look at his record. Then there's Georges St-Pierre, who cleared out 3 different generations of the best welterweights on the planet and retired on top. He's not just a fighter but also a person who has carried himself with grace and humility throughout his career. So, is he the GOAT? But wait a second, we're forgetting someone. What about Demetrius Johnson? This guy, on paper and empirically, is more accomplished and skilled than all those mentioned above. Yet, when he was on top, very few fans tuned into his fights, and the company he worked for shunned him. But he kept winning and winning, leaving us and the company no choice but to acknowledge his greatness. Why do we keep forgetting him? Demetrius, Mighty Mouse, Johnson is probably right now the best ever. I agree, Demetrius Johnson is one of the all-time greats. At his peak, he stamped his greatness into the collective consciousness so we may never forget. My buddy Ryan was asking me about Demetrius earlier, and he said, Demetrius is very clearly the #1 pound-for-pound fighter ever, he's clearly the GOAT. But I hear him left out of a lot of GOAT conversations. Welcome to the fighting business, there hasn't been a lot of grace to come out of the flyweight division since its inception. Yet, Demetrius Johnson didn't just make it out as the best flyweight to ever do it, but as an all-time great of our sport. The fantasies of a 6'3" DJ versus Jon Jones will forever live rent-free in my head. In today's video, I'll make those fantasies even realer. Let's go through the career of Demetrius Johnson, the man who let his actions do the talking in the octagon, but I might as well let his opponents tell the story for us. Joseph Benavidez was the first fighter to face Mighty Mouse in a title fight. The tournament to crown the first flyweight champion came to a close, and Demetrius Johnson was the victor in the finals. He faced Joseph Benavidez, and it was a closely contested fight. Benavidez, an alpha male student, fought valiantly, winning a few rounds, but the judges awarded DJ the fight and rightfully so. However, business was not completely settled between the two finalists. After winning a few title defenses, Benavidez earned another shot at the flyweight title. At that time, he was one of the best fighters in the company, having only lost to DJ and Dominic Cruz. Many expected these two to be rivals forever. It's one of those deals where a fight can define your career or tarnish your legacy a little bit. In their rematch, Benavidez fought a close battle, but DJ silenced him for good when he knocked him out in the first round. Knockouts don't happen at flyweight, they said, but as Demetrius celebrated his KO victory, a few people finally began to take notice. He was undeniably talented, but many still thought he was just too small and not worth watching. Then came Kyoji Horiguchi. In his 6th title defense, DJ was granted his first pay-per-view main event at UFC 186. However, with Michael Bisping on the card and the return of Rampage Jackson, the flyweight champion was once again an afterthought. DJ showed up to the press conference as he was supposed to, but he was rarely asked questions. In the 5th round, with just 1 second left, Demetrius Johnson changed the narrative. He locked in an armbar submission, and Horiguchi tapped out, marking the latest finish in UFC history. For a moment, people appreciated the record, but many still walked out after the 4th round. DJ didn't care, he kept his head down and continued to do his thing. Next up was Dodson, the magician. After defending his flyweight title 6 times, the rematch tour began, and Dodson was a formidable opponent. Their first fight was a close contest, but DJ showcased his speed and technique, earning a decision victory. In the rematch, Dodson was determined to prove himself. He came out strong, landing some good shots, but DJ's adaptability and fight IQ shone through. He adjusted mid-fight, showcasing his ability to read his opponent and counter effectively. The fight ended with DJ winning a unanimous decision, further solidifying his status as the champion. But the narrative around him still struggled to gain traction. The flyweight division, despite its technical skill and fast-paced action, was often overshadowed by heavier weight classes. Fans were still more enamored with the knockouts and drama found in the light heavyweight and heavyweight divisions. Then, there was the highly anticipated fight against Henry Cejudo, an Olympic gold medalist and a rising star. Cejudo was confident, but DJ took him to MMA school, dominating the fight and proving his superiority. This victory solidified DJ's status as one of the greatest. After defeating Cejudo, DJ faced Tim Elliott, a former UFC fighter who had returned through The Ultimate Fighter. Despite being a massive favorite, DJ faced a tough challenge but ultimately won, defending his title for the 9th time. The 10th title defense was monumental. DJ faced Wilson Reis, aiming to tie Anderson Silva's record. Many fans finally began to appreciate his skill as he dominated the fight from start to finish, submitting Reis with an armbar. This victory tied him with Silva, further cementing his legacy. However, friction between DJ and the UFC began to surface. When he negotiated for a super fight against TJ Dillashaw, Dana White was unhappy. Despite being one of the most successful champions, DJ struggled for recognition. At UFC 216, DJ faced Ray Borg, aiming to break Silva's record. In a flawless performance, he executed a suplex into an armbar submission, making history and showcasing his incredible skill set. This moment was not just a victory, it was a statement. Yet even after this historic win, the narrative around DJ remained frustratingly stagnant. The UFC's focus on bigger fighters and bigger draws meant that DJ's accomplishments often went unnoticed. Despite the challenges, DJ remained humble and focused on his craft. He eventually signed with ONE Championship, where he continued to prove himself against top international competition. His transition to ONE was a new chapter, allowing him to showcase his skills on a global stage. He quickly became a fan favorite and continued to break records, proving that he was not just a dominant champion in the UFC but also a force to be reckoned with in any organization. In ONE Championship, DJ faced tough opponents like Danny Kingad and Adriano Moraes, showcasing his versatility in skill set. His ability to adapt to different styles and opponents further solidified his legacy as one of the greatest fighters of all time. The respect he garnered from fans and fighters alike was a testament to his talent and dedication to the sport. As we reflect on Demetrius Johnson's career, it's clear that he is more than just a champion, he is a pioneer for the flyweight division and a role model for athletes everywhere. His story is one of perseverance, skill, and humility. While he may not always be included in the GOAT conversations, his legacy is undeniable. In conclusion, Demetrius "Mighty Mouse" Johnson deserves recognition not just as a flyweight champion but as one of the greatest fighters in the history of mixed martial arts. His journey is a reminder that greatness isn't always about the spotlight, sometimes, it's about the impact you leave behind and the respect you earn along the way. So, the next time you discuss the greatest UFC champions, remember the name Demetrius Johnson. He may be small in stature, but his legacy is larger than life.